There's this technology that's kind of like the secret engine of our modern world. It runs everything from shipping routes to energy grids. It's called mathematical optimization, and it's one of the most powerful tools we've ever created. But here's the catch. Almost nobody knows how to use it. Today, we're going to dig into how generative AI is finally changing all that, putting this incredible power into everyone's hands.
It really is a tale of two technologies. On one side, you've got AI. It has absolutely exploded, sucking up all the oxygen in the room with massive investment and nonstop headlines. And on the other side, you have optimization. It's been a foundational tool for decades, but it's been kind of locked away in this ivory tower for specialists, almost like a secret science. So why the huge difference in hype?
Okay, check this out. This graph of Google searches over the last 5 years tells you pretty much everything you need to know. See those massive spikes for artificial intelligence and LLMs? Of course you do. Now, look way down here. See that little flat line? That's linear programming, which is just a fancy term for finding the best possible path through a bunch of choices. A core idea or optimization. It's practically invisible. How can something so important be so unknown? And that really brings us to the big question we're tackling in this explainer. Why on earth is one of the most powerful tools ever invented for making better decisions basically a secret?
Well, it turns out the answer boils down to 4 huge barriers that have historically kept optimization locked away from anyone who isn't a specialist. Let's break them down.
Okay, so first up, you've got the inform problem. Just getting clean, up-to-date data into these models, it's a total nightmare. Then there's interpret. The model spits out the perfect answer, but why? Without the why, it's just this mysterious black box, right? Next, interact. Real-world planning is all about asking what if, but trying to do that with old-school optimization, so slow, so painful. You need an expert for every little tweak. And finally, improvise. When a crisis hits, you can't just tell the world to wait a few weeks while you update your model. It has to be fast. And look, this is not some new problem. The Nobel laureate Herbert Simon was talking about this way, way back in 1987. He basically said, the real issue has always been a language barrier. You've got executives thinking in stories, in what-ifs, in plain English, and then you have these optimization models that only speak the language of math, of variables and constraints. They couldn't talk to each other. Well, until now. And this, right here, is where generative AI steps onto the scene. It's the universal translator we've been waiting for. It's the thing that can finally bridge this decades-old gap between how we think and how computers calculate. So how does this actually work? Well, researchers have come up with this really elegant blueprint for it, and they call it the 4I framework. It's basically a set of design principles for using GenAI to just smash through those 4 big barriers we were just talking about. And the really cool part about this framework is how it just completely flips the script. It takes those 4 huge problems and turns them into 4 incredible solutions. So instead of struggling with data, bam, you get instant insight. Instead of a black box, you get total interpretability. Instead of a slow, clunky process, you get this amazing fluid interactivity. And when everything goes sideways, you've got the power of improvisation. Yeah, this table just lays it all out perfectly, doesn't it? You go from these massive headaches with data to just getting immediate insight. You go from a confusing black box to clear as day interpretability. From this slow, rigid process to super fast interactivity. And from being stuck in the past to being able to improvise on the fly. That's the whole ballgame right there. Okay, so this all sounds amazing in theory, right? But does it actually work in the real world? Well, let's take a look at a fantastic case study from inside Microsoft's gigantic cloud supply chain. So here was the challenge. Microsoft supply chain planners. These people are absolute geniuses at their jobs, but they're not data scientists with PhDs in optimization. They needed to get answers to some incredibly complex questions, and fast, without having to wait around for a specialist to build them a custom model. Now, get this. In their old system, asking a simple what-if question, something you would need to do every day, could take 2.5 days to get an answer. 2.5 days. In the world of global supply chains, that's basically a lifetime. Decisions were getting stalled, and opportunities were just slipping away. But then, they brought in a new system, one built on these 4I principles. Basically, a GenAI co-pilot for their optimization tools. And that response time? It went from 2.5 days to near real time. What used to take days now takes minutes, sometimes even seconds. That's not just an improvement, That is a complete game changer. And the impact on the team was just huge, a 23% reduction in the time they spent on these tasks. Now, that's not just some nice number to put on a slide. That is a massive boost in efficiency. It frees up the team to stop fighting fires and start thinking about the big picture, strategy, innovation, actually staying ahead of the curve. So what does this actually look like for a planner on a Tuesday morning? Well, it's literally as simple as having a conversation. They can just type questions in plain English like, hey, what happens if this supplier is out for a month? Or what's the cost if that data center's throughput drops? And this is the really crucial part. They can ask, why? Why didn't you pick the cheapest option? And get a straight answer. It's like having a world-class optimization expert sitting right next to you, 24/7. So let's zoom out. What's the big picture here? Because this isn't just about supply chains, right? This is about a fundamental shift in how we make all kinds of decisions. We're talking about a future where human expertise gets supercharged by AI, leading to way better outcomes in pretty much any complex field you can think of. And this quote, this really gets to the heart of it. This is the most important thing to remember. The point of all this isn't to trade people for algorithms. It's about empowering people with tools that are just way, way better. The future we're heading towards is a real partnership, a symbiosis, We the humans, we bring the wisdom, the context, we ask the important questions. The AI brings the raw computational power, sifting through thousands of possibilities in the blink of an eye. And together you get a decision-making engine that is smarter, faster, and way more resilient than anything we've ever had before. So I want to leave you with this question. Just think about it for a second. If you had an AI copilot that could instantly find the best possible answer to any complex problem you are facing, what's the first big decision you would make? What would you solve?